Morning, everybody. 8:10 a.m. Hope everybody had a good 4th of July. It is July 7th, and the market never fails to give us some news. We got Elon creating a new America party. That's taken down Tesla 6.17% pre market. Okay. We had a big move on Thursday, half session, right? Kind of open. It's called an open drive higher, basically opened, and the market just ripped up. Pretty poor price action to trade. There wasn't really a pullback. I didn't really have a trade that day. However, right after that, in the overnight activity in futures, it took back all of that move based on like tariff stuff. So President Trump reiterated something about tariff. I can't remember if it was like Japan or something like that. That the futures just sold off, took all the gains back. Since then, we've popped up a little bit, and we do have the July 9th coming up. And I believe he said the August 1st where the tariffs will go in effect if like people don't come to trade deals. So kind of crazy, of course, this market, right? And we're kind of in the worst place you could be, really. We're in the middle of Thursday's session. So you're in the middle of that session, okay? Usually it's like a choppy place to be when you're in the middle of a session, okay? So this week we don't have tons of data that it's really going to move markets. We have that FOMC minutes. We'll get over that in a second. We do have the July 9th date, so we'll have to see what happens. Obviously, with Elon, I don't know what's going to happen with Tesla. This is pretty volatile. So who knows? It's kind of crazy. All right. So that's what's going on. We'll look at a bunch of stuff in a little bit. But welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile and volume profile to find structure in the markets along with gamma exposure levels, supply and demand, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That is my edge. That is the way I look at markets, and that helps me create like a roadmap. All right. So you don't have to use what I use, right? But what you need to find is stuff that gives you a plan, a roadmap to come up with scenarios from them, right? Be it whatever indicator you want. Doesn't matter. You don't have to use what I use. I use what I use because volume profile, market profile show people's behavior. Okay, it shows people's behavior. It's not a moving average. Don't get me wrong. I use moving averages, but those are lagging, right? It shows you people's behavior at prices. That's why I like it. It's indisputable. It's not like oh, this crossed this moving average or something like that. It's literally, no, that's the most traded price that people are agreeing upon there. Hence, when there's people agreeing on a price, that becomes like a level of interest. Okay. Usually stops a market, pauses it, and then trends away up or down from that level. All right. I also use the anchored view ups and the market internals, which is my bread and butter, to set up the day for me once the market opens. Okay. Now, hopefully, if you're new, you can join me, join my channel, subscribe. All right. Trying to build a community here. Set an alert because I do this every day. I give you the market story, the leaders and the laggards, the market news, the economic calendar, and a whole bunch of TA following. Okay. Especially later on when I give you the NASDAQ and ES futures analysis and I give you long and short trade scenarios. All right. That I hope you can follow. All right. Now, of course, always ask me questions if need be. Okay. Now, once that market opens, okay, I give commentary in my Discord, and you can see right here. This is July 3rd. I give multiple things I'm seeing about the market, about what I'm seeing, about um, a live commentary, basically. Okay, into why the market's doing what it's doing. Okay, Once it gives me a clear path, then I'll maybe put risk on, right? But if it doesn't, then I don't do anything. But my edge here is basically knowing when not to do anything. That's also an edge, right? Not just your trading when you're going to put risk on, but there's also an edge of knowing when to just either take down your risk or just no trade. Okay, not every day is a banger. Okay, and that's, I wouldn't say take a long time, but that's not easy to digest a lot sometimes, because sometimes you do all this work, all this charting, and then all of a sudden you get a market open and you don't get to put any risk on. And it sometimes could be like, man, I just did all that work, I got to do something, but you don't. Okay, but you don't. All right. So anyway, that Discord is Confluence Trading. So go to my YouTube homepage and join up. Hopefully you're in there today. Ask a question because I will give live commentary of what I'm seeing. I don't have a lot of expectations today. We're coming off of a holiday. It's a Monday. We're in the middle of the session of Thursday. So I'm going to sit back, and if something unfolds, it unfolds. But I don't know how much opportunity there will be today. Yeah, if there is, then we're going to take it. All right. All right. Let's get on to see what's moving on in futures. Okay. Futures here. 10-year yields, the leader so far. It's up 0.44. VIX is up 0.29. Dollar's up 0.20. The Dow's pretty much flat. Crude's flat. Crude actually went down a lot based on, I saw that they're planning to produce a lot more oil, ramp up production, which sent oil down, but then it's since recovered. ES down 0.17, Nasdaq down 0.30, Russell down 0.30, 30-year bonds being sold down 0.38, gold's down almost 1% with the dollar rallying. Bitcoin down 1.32, Ethereum down 1.44, and silver is the laggard at 1.72, moving down to the Max 7 Plus here. So we have Amazon up 0.40. Not a lot of leaders here. Like I said, we really ramped up on Thursday. And like I said, it sold off in the futures that night. Now, the laggard here, I see Google's battling some antitrust lawsuit. So is Apple, I believe. Coinbase, the Bitcoin proxy's down. Nvidia's down 0.72. And Tesla, with Elon starting his new American party, is taking Tesla down 5.76%. He really wants to start a new party. So that is negative for the stock. People think he's not going to be able to concentrate on his company. That's the reason why. Now, as far as top sectors, there's nothing really to report there. Sectors, let's move on to the guts of the market. All right. Financials is only the leader, and it's not a leader. It's up 0.02. Okay. The rest we have is laggards, and that's your semis down 0.49, energy down 0.49, discretionary down 0.81. That's your Tesla being weak. Okay. Moving on to the economic calendar. Let's do that. Market's rebounding a little bit as I'm speaking. I don't know if you heard that large order. That's an alarm I have for large lots. All right, hitting the tape. Let's look at the economic calendar. And the economic calendar is not too strong this week. Okay. Like I said, though, we have the July 9th tariff deadline. That is important. Okay. Now, here, what do we have? FOMC minutes on Wednesday. Crude inventories, 30-year mortgage. Thursday, jobless claims, and then a bunch of Fed speak, and then Friday to monthly budget. If we do a 1-star, obviously you have some more other stuff today. You get Fed balance, this 3-month, 6-month bill auctions today. Tuesday, we got 11 a.m. consumer inflation expectations. Wednesday, there's a 30-year bond auction. I know one of these days. Let me see where it is. Here it is. On Thursday, you have a 30-year bond auction at 1 p.m. Hopefully, I'm not trading by then, but that's pretty important. I'm surprised I don't put that up there as more important. All right. That's what we're looking for, the economic calendar. All right. Now we look at some stock news here. Let's see here. Tesla stock slumped 6.8 after CEO Elon Musk said he will launch a new political party. Apple stock fell 0.5 after the iPhone maker decided to challenge EU regulators in Europe's second highest court on Monday. Stellantis stock fell 4.5% after the U.S. National Highway Traffic Safety Administration opened a recall covering about 1.2 million of the auto giant's Ram trucks. All right, Shell ADRs fell 3.1 after the energy giant issued a downbeat second quarter. MGM Resorts stock fell 1.8 after Goldman Sachs initiated coverage of the gaming stock with a sell recommendation. CrowdStrike stock fell 1.6 after Pipeline downgraded its stance on the cybersecurity company. Okay, that's some stock news. Moving on to some more stuff. Trump says U.S. nears trade deals as tariff deadline delayed. Also, the deadline's delayed. The United States is close to finalizing several trade pacts in coming days and will notify other countries of higher tariff rate by July 9th. President Donald Trump said on Sunday with the higher rates set to take effect on August 1st. We know about the Tesla sliding. Apple, we just talked about that. Google's AI overviews hit by EU antitrust complaint. I'm just going to see what else is here. Like I said, I will move on. See some Netflix Seaport Research Partners cut rating to neutral from buy. Netflix Constellation Brands Jeffrey raises rating to buy from hold. All right, that's what I think that we're going to do here. Let's look at the juice here. Says trade tensions are back on investors' radar, with Trump promising to put unilateral tariffs on dozens more countries in the coming days. U.S. authorities have signaled that increased duties would begin on August 1st, although Treasury Secretary Bessent has suggested that some countries may be allowed a 3-week exemption. All right. And what do we have for Trump today? Trump signs executive orders at 4 o'clock and 6:30. Trump greets Israel's prime minister. Okay. And yeah, I don't see anything shocking in here to talk about, so we can move on. We can move on to breadth charts. Just wanted to take a quick look. This is your S&P 500 percentage of stocks over the 20-day simple moving average. We're at 80%. Remember, once we get into the 90, 89, and 90%, that's very frothy. Okay, just keeping a eye on it. This just gives me a general. This doesn't make me make a trade. This gives a general overrized breadth. Now, the other breadths I want to talk about is the bullish percent index. Now, this is just bullish percent index uses uses what point and figure charts. Point and figure charts, which doesn't use time. It's like X and O's, but you don't have to worry about that. This just says how many of these stocks in the S&P 500 are on buy signals. That is 74%. Starting to get a little frothy. Notice, once you get up into 80s to 85, same thing as the 20s, this gets kind of frothy. Okay, just giving you the example. Okay, now we go to the overall, like say a NYSE exchange, right? 63. This was middling, so that means the overall breadth has improved. Okay, the overall breadth has improved. So this is just something I like to look at. All right, we can move on. Let's move on to daily charts. Like I said, there's not much. We're gonna dive into it, of course, but we broke out of a 3-day balance basically on Thursday. Okay, you can see we gapped up, we opened, and we drove up, right? Made a new all-time high and kind of closed right here. The session was very boring, and it was really just strong. Okay, so not much to glean from this. Where are we at now? 624.44. 624.44. That's how I talked about. We're in the middle of that range. Not a place you really want to be. Like I said, that's just not a place you want to be. Let's see here. Let's look at the futures here. Let's give you a better view of the actual price action here. You can see here's that session, and price is here. Okay, that's last week's range right there. Boop, and right there, in the middle of last week's range. Well, not quite in the middle of the futures. Middle would be here, but like in the middle of the session on. Remember, this is Actually, yo, yeah, this is 7.3, showing 7.3 here. Okay, never mind what I'm saying there. All right. Moving on. Qs. So here's your Qs. Kind of the 3-day balance broke last month's highs and pretty much drove up, right? Closed at 556. We're at 554.71. So we're right 554.71. We're right here in the middle of the range, like I said, right? Now let's look at Qs. Let's look at the Nasdaq 100 futures, right? You can see right in the middle of this session, in the upper portion of last week's range. Here's that like balance area, 4 days of balance, broke it out, and then you had that day. Okay. Now we're going to move on to our triple-headed monster, and that's your bond market, and your dollar, and your VIX. Okay, let's look at that 10-year yield. The 10-year yield is pushing back up. It's just being middling, like it always has, right? Has this downtrend, and let's try to sweeten up this little. Make sure here, right there. Okay, so it's right at this downtrend line. 200. It's just middling. It's really just can't fall, or it's just middling. So there's not much to look at it other than it's middling. Okay. Now dollar, like I've been saying that I've been looking for some type of rally in the dollar. Dollar's starting to like stall out here. Let's see if it can start to make a move here. This kind of poor structure here, it can get cleaned up to 98.33. Let's just see. I don't know. Just have my eye on that dollar. Okay. Now the VIX, that is your 30 days out. That's what the VIX shows you. All right, we're kind of just in a range, peaking up a little bit today. In this range, you're still at a 17.55. It went all the way down to like in the 16s, but now we're back up a little bit. So July 9th is coming up, so maybe people are hedging a little bit. We have to see. That's your triple-headed monster. Okay. Now we'll move on to the hourly chart real quick. There's not much, like I said, to go deep in. We'll just go over some volume profile stuff. All right, give me a sec while I pull that up. We'll look at it quickly. Remember, this is the hourly charts. Really like to keep my eye on these hourly charts. So here we go. Let's get my trusty marker out. All right, so is this really not? All right, let me kill my marker and restart it. Just give me one sec. Apologize for that. Let's do this. Alrighty. All right. So clearly, we have a little uptrend here, right? One touch, two touch, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this uptrend's being held. Okay, so that's one thing to note. This is the sell-off of futures. Look at this drive up. In the black is the real-time trading hours, and then it just got taken right back, right? And then we gapped up and just held down, pushed down, and now it's just not the best price action. Okay, so there's a lot of overhead supply here. Let's look at this. The one thing I want to look at here is basically if I throw a volume profile here from this area, right? Got lots of volume here, right? You can see this shelf acted as support, right? And then you have a ton of volume here. That's from Thursday, right? And then all this volume, you can just see that tells you right there how much of this volume is weak. Not a lot of people have been trading this, even though candlesticks like they have been, but the volume's just not there, right? If we sweeten this up a little more to this area, you can really see that the volume is lacking here as opposed to Thursday. Okay. Now this profile is a bullish imbalance. You do have a lot of volume up here. If you can make it back up here, we can make new highs. So that's looking at that. Okay. Like I said, not a lot to gleam over. You got a lot of demand, you got supply, right? And in the Nasdaq, all right, we'll look at that now. we do have like this wedge here. It's coiling up, right? You can see it's just the price is compressing. So we could even probably make this a little tighter here, right? So price is compressing. Now you did get a little push out of here, so we'll see. It's a little different from the ES, right? That's that move up, got sold off. That's that little crappy session on Friday, and then it's just been garbage since the Sunday open. We opened here, pushed down, and it's just been a mess. Okay, if you want to look at the volume profile real quick of this move here, let's just do it. Boop. So you can see the majority of the trading happened up here. You have a low volume node right here, which means not much time spent. That can act as resistance. It did. Boop. Right there. And then you have another high volume node here, right? So this is what the volume profile looks like. Still the most volumes up here. This has all been weak hands. We'll just have to see. Okay, we just have to see what happens today. All right. And this anchored vehicle I have from here really has not even been tested yet. So it's very interesting. All right, that's your 1 hour chart analysis. We're going to move on. I want to switch my workspace. Just give me a sec while I do that. And we'll get into the futures analysis here. All right. This is your market profile and your volume profile. Now what I did here, just so nobody's confused on this chart of the ES, okay, what I did is I merged the last 3 sessions here in this one profile. Okay, so I can show you the removed merges, because this is the overnight session that sold off. This is a little crap session that happened on July 4th. And this is the overnight activity. All right, so I just like to combine all these to one session. Like that. Okay, because we got price here in the middle of Thursday's session. So I just like to treat that as one big session. Right, most traded price is down here. And just look at it. Now this is pretty balanced profile for all those sessions. Okay, if we take apart this and go bars aligned, that's all that price action. Okay. Okay. So let's look at this. And like I said, it's not the best area to be. Price is here in the middle of Thursday session, right? Big move up. Now we're back to the middle, right? So let's look at some levels here. Well, look at the weekly profile. Very weird looking. You have a distribution down here. Then you have very low volume. And then you have a distribution here. Okay, so very odd looking profile. This just accounts for the low volume for the sessions after Thursday. It's just been low volume. Okay, that's why it looks like that. So how do we look at this, and what levels can we look at, right? So you can see my demand zones here and supply zones here. So there's definitely a nice demand zone right here. And what does this encompass here? You have this 6271, 6276. I will consider this confluence low. All right. This would be a place where you'd want the ES to hold. Okay. Now you have another demand zone right here. And this is the most traded price for the last 3 sessions, which would be the overnight from Thursday through Friday, Friday's little session and this overnight, right? So price could possibly pull back to here as well. Okay. Then you have a supply zone right here. That encompasses the close from Thursday, the overnight highs. Okay. You have right here the most trader price of Thursday. We'll actually include that in this range. Okay. And then of course up here we have Thursday's highs. Okay. So whenever this is in the middle of a session, I don't like to really be involved there. It will move away, and then I'll have to play wherever it moves away. All right. So if we're going to look at this, we're going to get right into scenarios here. Like I said, I don't like right now where the market is. I just don't like it. So I'm going to have to trade based on what I know will happen and then possibly react to it. Okay. So we're going to start off with the bull scenario here. Price, let's spread this out so you guys can see the price action so it looks more normal to everybody. That's the price action. Okay. Price is right here. Okay. Like I said, in a really garbage location here. All right. You're in supply. You're in the middle of Thursday. So what I want to see here is a test, higher or lower, to see if I can go long or short. All right, now we don't have much resistance above us because we're at all-time highs, right? So what I want to see is maybe a push up into the most traded price of Thursday. Maybe we pull back into, there's demand here and here. So in this zone, maybe we get a pullback, right? And then we can start taking out this liquidity. Move back up to the most traded price of Thursday and see if we can make new highs. Okay. That's one. And then two, if you get a deeper pullback, right? Right into here, you could also bounce and try to do the same thing. Okay. There's a bunch of pullbacks here that are probably viable. Okay. You can even pull back farther. This is your month-to-day anchored VWAP right here. And so a bunch of pullbacks are definitely viable here. Okay. Once you get below 62.44, okay, which is right now the most traded price of the current week, it actually moved to the current month in this 24-hour chart. So it's pretty important level here. You can see in the orange here, it's a high volume node. You just don't want to see the market below this level. That's a bull bear line. That's 62.44. Okay, as long as we stay above that, it's probably bullish. Just in seasonality wise, July happens to be a bullish month. And again, that's only stats. That doesn't mean it has to happen that way. All right, that's bull side. We're going to talk about the bear side, which is going to be a little difficult. All right, now this market is frothy, but we got momentum on your side. Okay, so you're in supply now. So same probably scenario inverse before. I'd like to see the market push up, touch the close of Thursday and the most traded price of Thursday. Fail, come through it. You get some lower highs. Now we're cooking, and you can see we could probably test this support and this demand zone. Okay. If we take this out, the most traded price of those last three sessions, we're probably going to test this level. That level is 62.75. Okay. If we take that out, we're going to test that big level of 62.44. Now, like I said, this is only scenarios. Okay. Now, another one that would be probably interested in, and I have to see a lot of data for a short, to be honest with you. I'm not just going to short quick. I want to see price telling me a story. If we take out this most traded price, right, and we heat last week's highs, and we fail, I need to see a bunch of lower highs to go on back under this to try a short. I really need to see more data for me to get excited about a short. Okay, it's probably all I'm really interested in as far as the ES. Okay, Now, if we look at the NASDAQ, which has a tiny different bit of structure to it, okay, let's look at this together. You can see more trades right at this price here, at 229.29. That's the most traded price of all these sessions. I already showed you guys how I merged all this, okay? So we're going to just put, now you can see the profile actually is a little more balanced in the NASDAQ. Price is a little more balanced. Remember that, like that wedge? So that wedge, you can see it in the profile. It's kind of a more balanced look in the NASDAQ than the ES, okay? So that being said, what are some key levels? We do have this right here. We have a supply zone. It's a pretty big one, right? But I would mark off this area too, right? That's all-time highs right here. That's your Thursday highs. You have the close right here, and you have the most traded price of Thursday. It's a pretty important level, right? And you have supply here, right? Price is right here, right at the midpoint. See mid 229.72? That's where price is right now. That's where price is right now. So the most traded price, you can see it right here of the overnight. That's got a nice demand zone there. That could be a pullback long. Then you have this next area, which encompasses the most traded price of the week, and it's probably going to be the month. That's at your 22830. It's a big level. Okay, that's your bull bear line right here. BB, bull bear line. Your line in the sand is your 22830. You don't want to go below that if you're a NASDAQ bull. Okay, if you're a NASDAQ bull. Now, we do have single prints below. That's emotional buying. Two patches of them. That's weak foundation. That is when you have that elephant on a toothpick. Okay. In a weak market, you take those out very easily. All right. Now, let's spread this out to see the price action. All right, so here's our price action, and we're going to get right into scenarios here. Let's do it. Let's go bull side. Bull first. Okay. Actually, let me pull this back a little bit. Okay. Price is right here. Like I said, worst possible location, right in the middle of Thursday session. So, what am I going to look for? I want to see a move away from this, right? And then find out what I want to do. So, if the market does push up and then it sells off, right? Right to this most traded price, it is overnight. That definitely could be support. Okay, even if it comes down to here, right? Bounces, lower high, then you can start working this off, break up here, tap the most traded price of Thursday, and try to break up all-time highs and go to last week's highs 23101 and see if you can make new highs. Okay, same thing coming into this area. You got demand here. We could bounce and go up as well. You could also come down to the big level that I said, 22830. That's your ultimate level. If you find support here, you can make a move as well up. Other than that, I'm not really interested. Okay, because if you start to find acceptance under here, that's bearish. That 22830, please write that down. That's a big level. Okay, now if you go for the bear side, okay, price is here. Price can, let's say, it even hits down here, get some buyers, and then you hit this confluence high. That's your most traded price in your close of Thursday. Maybe even fail here, come back under, lower high, right? And then we can start to take out this long that came up here and test this support here. And the most traded price, actually, believe it or not, from all these sessions is Thursday's lows. So that's pretty significant, right? If you go through that and you take this out, you're going to find yourself at that big bull bear line. So the market, in order for it to move lower, would need to fall and find acceptance below that level. Find acceptance. It cannot come and go right back and reclaim that level. That would be bullish. Okay, but if it holds, you have this weak foundation and you can really rip through this and go down to this last week's high lows 22584 in this demand zone. Okay, this is the ultimate drop. You might only get this, right? That's why I have the scenarios there. Okay, like I said, that is the scenarios. Okay, so if I'm just going to show you guys yellow. Since we're in the middle, right? This is Friday's range, Thursday's range. We're in. I'm sorry, that's the midpoint of. I'm saying this is the mid. This is actually the midpoint in the overnight. Still, it's a balanced session, right? But this is the midpoint of Thursday. Okay, we're just in the middle of garbage. So you can just see the price action, right? Right here. So my point before basically is I need to see a test up, right? For me to possibly think of a short to fail to go down, right? Or I need to see a test lower in order for me to go long. All right. Now, don't get me wrong. Can I think long this way as well? I can, but this is supply. I don't like longing supply. I would need to take out this supply. Boom. Pull back, hold to maybe thinking about going long. But I didn't put that in my scenario because I'm not a fan of that, especially up here. I don't want to, I have to see how strong we are. Okay. So that's why I was saying that I need a test. Okay. I need that test or test lower, right? To get the buyers involved and just to go higher. Whoa. Whoa. Pancake. Good morning. I haven't seen you in a while. Or maybe you've been hiding in the shadows. Good morning. Now I'm done with the plans. Hopefully you've seen my plans, Pancake. All right. Now that is the plans. Okay. Pretty clear. Pretty clear. But I don't like it right now. I don't like where we're at all. So, like I said, I need to test in those areas of interest, and then I have to reassess. Okay, test in this area of interest, and then I have to reassess. Okay. Now, if you did enjoy that analysis, please smash that like button. All right, that'd mean a lot to me, and that'd be much appreciated. Also, if you'd like to see me every morning, just subscribe, set that alert, get the market story from me, have a cup of coffee, tea, water, whatever you want to drink, and just listen. And if you don't know trading, just listen to the beginning, the first 20 minutes, and I'll give you the overall feeling of the markets and what's going on. You don't need to know technical analysis. Then later on, there's TA, okay, which I just gave you, and hopefully you enjoy that. All right, now, every day, all right, once that market opens, I have to assess what's driving markets, what's under the hood, what's in the guts of the market, right? That's how I choose my strategy, my game plan for the day. All right, now if you join my Discord, you will see that live commentary. All right, my Discord is Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and join up. Feel free to ask questions, okay? I wouldn't want to ask questions because I know some of the stuff people aren't all familiar with. But my goal is, if you go to my Discord, is not to show you how to trade. It's to show you why the market's doing what it's doing. I'm never really ever wrong on reading the market of why it's doing what it's doing. Sometimes it's let me get it this way. It's always clear when I'm reading the market. I'm never like, this is not clear. It's clear. It's always clear. But that doesn't mean it's a clear like setup for a trade. That's the difference, right? It might be clear for me to just be like, I'm not going to do anything. I don't like what price is doing right now. I can see me saying that Monday morning after the holiday and we're in the middle of a range. Right now, I could probably say that I'm probably going to be hands off until I see something form, right? I need to see more of a story form. So, again, come join my Discord and you'll get that knowledge, right? You'll be like, and then ask questions, right? Because I'll just literally spell it out. Hopefully that's clear enough, but if you don't, ask me a question. All right. So, hope everybody has a great day. Now we have our plans. We have our plans, and no trade's a trade. Remember that. All right. But if you have a plan, put risk on. I hope everybody stays green today. Okay. Cash is a position. And if I don't see you in my Discord, I'll see everybody tomorrow. All right. Take it easy, everybody.